Hello. This is a little release and restore class, about an hour, maybe a little bit shorter. And I thought today I'd work on a little bit of everything, but a focus on general spine health, because I think everybody over the age of 10 probably has some back issues that they want to work on, just sort of hazards of life, I guess. So release some stuff from central nervous system, spine, and lower back especially, and a little bit in the hips. Hips tend to, when they get tight, they can pull on the lower back. So we'll work on a little bit of that too. So start on your back. Just get comfortable. Start really slow, ease into it. Feel your nervous system settle. Already you might start to feel your spine release with some creaks and pops. And just let it do its thing. And you can take your legs wherever they feel good. Mine today are gravitating towards a bound angle with open hips. So you can take that, and if it is a little too intense for your hips, you can take blocks underneath the sides of your thighs or just under your knees just to prop them up a little bit. You can take your hands wherever they feel good. And just notice if you're holding tension in your shoulders, consciously release that. Tuck your chin just a little bit, lengthen the upper neck, upper spine, cervical spine. Take a few breaths and just release your day, whatever your day held today. Today is today and tomorrow is tomorrow. So just be in this moment. Feel your belly soften. Take your breath all the way down into your belly. Feel your belly rise and fall. See if you can allow your belly to move before your chest moves when you take your breath in. And so your breath goes down toward the bottom of your lungs first. Take another full deep breath. And then just nod your head gently from side to side, keeping your shoulders anchored into the earth. Just releasing any tension in your neck that you might still be holding on. You can pause in any space. Come back to neutral. Stretch your arms overhead. Feel that length all the way through your side body. Maybe you catch a yawn when you stretch. That's good. Nervous system settles. Whenever you start yawning, that's when your nervous system is really getting into that good space, releasing things, releasing tension. So just let it happen. If your knees are apart in bound angle, you can take the knees together, walk your feet to the outsides of your mat, just counterbalance that. Maybe windshield wiper the hips a little bit. And then set your feet on the ground. And so if your legs were straight, you can bend your knees and just place your feet about hip width distance. Knees about hip width distance, and your hips are the points in your hips, your iliac crest. So you just line everything up. And just rock your pelvis forward and back, just to connect to your sacrum and your lower back. Just notice if there's any sensation, any intensity. And just be with that. And just connect to your lower body, your back body, lower extremities. You can rock from side to side. When you're ready, hug your knees into your chest. And keep rocking from side to side. Just massage your lower back. Your mid-back. Feel it connecting into the ground. Just utilizing the floor as a tool to release tension. Then you can take your hands to the tops of your knees and just guide your knees. Your knees are glued together, and just guide them in circles, almost like you're drawing circles on the ceiling. Make them as big or as little as you want. Take 3 or 4. And then reverse direction, getting all the angles. Give your knees a good squeeze. Hug your shins and bring your forehead really close to your knees. So you're curling into a little ball, fully contracted, like you're inside an egg. And then slowly release. Feet touch down. Windshield wiper your legs again. Maybe make it a little bit bigger. Feel that stretch all the way down from your knee all the way up to your ribs. And just let it be what it is. These are just movements. Any movement is better than no movement. So when you're ready this time, stack your knees right over your hips. So again, your hip points, your feet and your knees are about hip width distance. And then your knees, your legs make 90-degree angles with your knees right over your hips. Slide your hands just to the tops of your knees, and then press your knees into your hands. And just bring a little warmth, a little fire into your lower belly. You might feel a little shake. That's good. That just means you're alive. And then soften that. Hug your knees in. Rock from side to side. From here, come to stillness. Hug your right knee into your chest. Let your left leg extend all the way out. So your foot is in line with that hip point. And you can pick up your head and just line everything up. Let your shoulders release down into the earth, so your chest opens toward the ceiling. Flex both feet, so you're pressing energy from your heels and then through the crown of your head. Just feel that length. So if you had energy at your lower belly, which you do, your solar plexus, That energy is extending all the way down the leg and all the way up through the crown of your head. Just connect to that. And then give your leg a little wiggle. You can make some circles with that knee still into your chest. You're massaging your lower belly. So the right side of your digestive system, ascending colon. Just a little lower abdominal massage. Keep the feet active and flexed. Take your left hand to your hip, right to that hip point. Right foot stays flexed. Just open the knee out to the side. So with that left hand at your hip, you're anchoring that hip down so that when you open the right knee out to the side, that left hip stays grounded. Keep pressing out through the foot, both feet, pressing out through the right foot. Now you can stay here, or if you have open hamstrings, flexible legs, you can take your big toe lock, catch your big toe with your first two fingers, and straighten that leg, reaching out. You can also do this by hooking a strap or a belt around the sole of your foot, and then you can hang onto the strap. Try to do this with minimal props. So it's just sort of like what you have at home. Because really, rolling around on the floor is not conducive with how many props you have handy. It's just a matter of connecting to your body and moving in ways that support it and release things that accumulate throughout the day. Just repetitive motions, emotions, whatever you have going. It all gets stuck, and you have to move to release it. If your leg is straight, bend that right knee back, pull it back through center. So this time you're switching your hands. Your left hand goes to the outside, the top of your right knee, and your right hand touches down. So you're opening your right hand, palm down like a wing, and guiding that right knee to the left. So you're not coming into a full twist. You're keeping your shoulders grounded. And then bring a little isometric engagement, a little active mobility. So as you pull that knee down, you're actively pulling it toward the floor, and then resist that with your hip. So it's like your hand wants to pull the knee down, and your hip says, no, we're staying up. So you find that sort of middle point where you can balance, and you start to bring a little heat into the lower belly and the outer hip. And your head can turn in any way that feels the best on your neck. Come back in through center. Hug your knee in. And then stretch it out. Give it a shake. And just release the energy from that. And then hug both knees in. Rock from side to side. This time the right foot extends out. Left leg stays in. Flex both feet. And again, just make sure everything's stacked. So the knee, the hip, the ankle, the feet, all in line. And then you can massage the left side of your digestive system. Roll it around. Roll the leg around and into your belly. Massage your lower belly. And then give it a good squeeze. Shoulders drop down. Lengthen through the back of your neck. Anchor your right hand to your hip point again. Both feet flexed. Right knee opens out. Keep that hip grounded. It's really just the leg opening out to the side. If you have that extension, you can connect to the big toe or a strap and extend the leg. Keep that hip grounded, so make sure you're not rolling to the left side. Keep pressing through the heels. Feel that energy flowing out through the crown of your head again. And bring your breath wherever you're feeling this. And slowly bend your knee, come back through center. Switch the hands, right hand to the outside. Left hand touches down, palm down. Start to come into that twist. And then again, find a little isometric resistance. So the hip is pulling down toward the floor at an equal degree that you're pulling the knee toward the floor on the opposite side. So you feel a little intensity here, maybe in your core a little bit. Come all the way back through center. Hug your knee in, give it a squeeze, wiggle it around, and then send the leg long, give it a shake. Both knees hug in again, rock from side to side, release your spine. Staying grounded, maybe feeling like the spine is opening a little bit more, creating space. Take your knees to stack right over your hips again. Flex your feet. Again, press your knees into your hands and your hands into your knees. Feel your lower core just activate. Soften that. Keep the shape so the knees stack over the hips. This time open your arms, both arms out like wings, palms touch down. One knee at a time over to the right, coming into a twist. Shoulders stay grounded. So if you need to stack something underneath that lower knee, if the floor feels too far away, if you start to come into that twist and the shoulder starts to lift, keep the upper body grounded and let the knees lift, and then bring a pillow or a block or a bolster underneath the knees so you can fully release, fully relax into that shape. So you're not trying to hold the knees in place. And then once you get into that space where you're relaxed, you feel your lower back, your mid back soften, not hold tension. You can take that right hand to the top of the left leg, kind of guide it a little bit deeper. You might feel a little stretch in the hip, in the lower back, the mid back. If you want to take it into a full spinal rotation, look over that left shoulder. Slowly release. Come back to neutral. One knee at a time, back to center. Hands to knees, knees press into hands, hands press into knees. Soften, but keep the shape. Open the arms to the other side, one knee at a time. Twist to the left. Stack the knees if you need. And you might find that with every breath, you get a little bit deeper. Take your time to get there. You don't have to force it. Just let everything settle. Right shoulder stays down, upper body is grounded, heart opens to the ceiling. Maybe you take the left hand to the top of the right knee. Once you feel settled and relaxed, you can guide it a little bit deeper. Full spinal rotation with the turning your neck, turning your head over that right shoulder. If that feels good. If that's something that you can hold for a few breaths. And slowly release. One knee at a time, back through center. One more time, stack the knees over the hips, connect hands to knees, and push. Hug your knees into your chest, rock from side to side, release your spine. Take your left foot down to the earth, right in line with that hip again. Flex your right foot, and then start to guide your right knee to the outside of your hip. So you're coming into a half happy baby. So your left hand is grounded at your hip, and you can either just stay here with the knee kind of guiding toward the outside of that right rib, or start to lift the sole of your foot to the ceiling and take your hand right behind the knee. Pull the knee a little bit further toward the floor. And if you feel like you can go deeper here, you can catch the outside of your foot with the right hand and bring that knee down a little bit deeper. You might find a little movement, pulse, press the knee toward the floor and the foot toward the ceiling. Or you might just hold in stillness if that feels good. It's different depending on the day. Sometimes you want movement, sometimes you need stillness. They're both good and they're both valid. Just be where you are today. And then slowly start to guide that right ankle toward your left knee. So you're coming into a figure four. Stay grounded to start. We always want to rush and pick up that left leg, but keep the foot down to start, and actively push that right knee away from your shoulder. Right foot stays flexed, still pressing energy out through the heel. Shin is parallel to the ground. And maybe this is where you stay. Maybe this is intense enough. Especially if you're a runner, you might find that your hips are really tight because you're doing a lot of that linear movement. And this is a really great way to just start to release that. If you feel like going a little bit deeper, you can pick up that left leg, catch behind the knee. Movement or stillness, you can rock from side to side or just hold, play with it, maybe straighten that left leg, maybe keep it bent. Both feet stay flexed, pressing through the heels. And just keep pressing that right knee away from your shoulder. If you have really tight hips, it might try to creep in toward the shoulder. So keep actively pressing it away. It's not just a passive movement here. You're bringing a little intention into the whole thing. Send that foot down, left foot touches down. And this time you're turning like you're going into a twist. Keep the legs exactly where they are. So the sole of your right foot touches down and your ankle is still connected to the top of your left knee. Adjust yourself so that your heart opens toward the ceiling, and then take your left hand and just press your knee away from that left shoulder. Just see where you feel this one. I'm not going to say where. Just see if it does anything for you. If you want it a little bit deeper, you can take that left foot, open it up just a little bit, and then send the right foot that's grounded, up toward your left shoulder. This might be a little intense. This is intense for me. I haven't done this in a while. Just notice where you're feeling it. Slowly start to unwind. You can just unwind the legs. Hug them in, knees to chest, rock from side to side. Let everything reset, and then send that right foot down. Flex both feet, left foot especially. And then just start to guide that left knee just to the outside of the ribs. You can pulse it a little bit. And then stay or extend the leg. Take your hand behind the knee. Guide the knee a little bit deeper toward the floor. Sole of the foot pushes toward the ceiling. Little movement, or just hold. And if you feel like you can go deeper, half happy baby. Catch the outside of the foot. Still pressing the foot toward the ceiling, and then pressing that left knee down just to the outside of your ribs toward the floor. Movement or stillness, pulse or hold. Maybe even a little push into the hand. So your hand is pulling the knee toward the earth. Can you push your foot into your hand? Just see what happens. Slowly start to guide left ankle to cross to right knee. Figure 4 stretch on the hip. Left foot is flexed. And just press that left knee away from the left shoulder. Shin parallel. Energy pressing out through the heel. Spine is long. Stay or pick up that right leg. Catch behind the knee. Movement or stillness. Just notice if that left knee starts to creep toward the shoulder. You can even manually press it away just to give it a reminder where it needs to stay to be most effective. Release the right foot down. Keep the legs where they are in the same shape, and just start to rotate the hips to the right side. The knee stays lifted toward the ceiling. That left shoulder stays connected. And then actively with the right hand, press the knee away from the shoulder. So your knee points toward the ceiling, maybe. Just notice where you're feeling it. It might be surprising. It is for me. If you want a little deeper, you can take that right leg, just open the knee out just a little bit, and then send the foot up toward the shoulder. So that right leg is kind of anchoring the foot in place, and you're just bringing the leg up to anchor a little closer toward the shoulder, and then press so that the knee stays aiming toward the ceiling. It's pretty intense. More intense than I expected. Very surprising. Hopefully you're feeling something too. When you're ready, just unwind. That was a lot. Come back in. Hug it in. Take your hands behind your knees and just rock up to sit. Take a moment. Just adjust what needs to be adjusted. Kind of changing positions a little bit. And then roll over, come to table, all fours. Set your hands underneath your shoulders. Spread your fingers, press into the fingertips, knees under hips, knees hip width. Support your spine by drawing in your lower belly. And then send your heart forward. Roll the elbows under so that when your elbows are soft, they're actually pointing toward your hips. And then drag the heels of your hands back, almost like they're shooting toward your knees, but they're staying anchored. So it's an isometric movement. And that helps draw your heart forward. And then round your spine, press the floor away. Pressing forward and down. Inhale. Come forward. And you can hold these as long as you need them. Hold for a few breaths, or move one breath, one movement. And just be where you are. Staying linear or moving in any direction. Just guiding where the energy needs to flow. Making that as big or as little as it needs to be. And then slowly make your way down into child's pose. You can either take knees together if you need a little more stretch on your lower back, or knees apart if you want the stretch to be in your upper thoracic spine. Your arms can reach out, or they can hug your legs by the sides. Just notice what feels best. On your next inhale, roll up. Find your table again. Coming into a twist, set your foundation to start. Take your right arm out to the side. And then as you exhale, thread the needle. So hand goes between the grounded hand on the left side and the knee. Doing a really bad job at articulating this. And then take your left hand right in front of your wrist, press down into the floor to open up the chest, but notice if the hips are kinking. Press a little bit more into that right knee to level the hips. If it feels good, you can wrap that top arm all the way behind. Open your upper back, shoulder, chest. Start to make your way all the way back down. So the hand presses back underneath your shoulder. Press strong into that left hand. Open that right arm all the way out. Maybe it opens to the ceiling, depending on how you feel. Come all the way back down. Hands underneath shoulders. Flow through cat and cow. Roll out your spine. Finding your way back into your strong foundation, table pose. Left hand opens out. Exhale, thread your needle. Hand goes between right hand and right knee. Head touches down. Move your right hand in front of your left wrist. Really just so that your wrist is stacked underneath your elbow. So you have this nice right angle grounding into that right hand. And then push down into the floor. And then press a little bit more into the left knee. So you're shifting the hips a little bit toward the left as you open the chest right. Maybe open the shoulder, take your hand to the crease of your hip, upper back, chest expansion. Slowly touch down, hand underneath your shoulder, press back. Open left arm. Touch down. Flow through your spine here. Just roll it out in any way that feels good. Set your strong foundation. Take your eye gaze just between your hands, about in the same line as your fingertips, just toward the center of your mat. And then send your right leg back. Level the hips. Reach through the foot and the crown of the head. Be light in your hands. So press even more into that left shin. Be grounded. Take a long breath in as you exhale, knee to nose, round your spine. Inhale, extend, lengthen, take the breath in. Exhale, squeeze the breath out, contract. One more inhale, extend. Exhale, contract. Inhale, lengthen once more. Flex your foot, touch down. Line up your toes with that hip again. Roll the elbows under so that if you bend your elbows point toward your knees. And push forward and back so that you're pressing into the heel and then the heels of your hands. Feeling that nice stretch all the way down the back of the leg. It should feel good, and it might feel really intense. And your arms might be feeling a little heat. It's gentle, but I didn't say it was going to be easy. Soften that shape. Soften the intensity, keep the shape. This time just kickstand the left leg, lower the right instep down. Come up into a side plank variation with the knee down. Stack your shoulders, press into the lower shin, and feel light through that lower hand. You can even roll your hip open toward the ceiling as you extend long. Just feel that length. And then from your center point, so imagine, again, that fire in your belly, extending through the feet, the knee, through the hands, the crown of the head. Send the energy in all directions. Lift that leg if that feels good, and extend long. Just lengthen out the side body. Stay here or bend that top leg. Catch the top of your foot and push the foot into the hand. So the leg stays parallel and you just open your gaze toward the ceiling. Pushing into the hand. So it's really the leg that's doing the work. Slowly start to release. Come all the way, touch down. Back into table. Flow through your spine. By now, you probably need a little rest for the wrists, so just sit onto your heels and roll your wrists around. Stretch in opposite direction. So pressing the top of your hand, stretch the top of your wrist. Get some blood flow, pump the fingers. Maybe take a fist. One big fist, make figure eights. And with that fist, try to move it in opposite direction. That's a brain challenge right there. When you're ready, come back into table. Set your foundation. Extend the left leg back. Light into the hands, especially to protect the wrists. Push into the right knee. Extend long and then exhale. Knee to nose around your spine. Inhale, extend. Exhale, draw it in. Inhale. Once more, squeeze it out. Leg extends back, flex your foot, touch down. Squeeze into the heel. Press through the hands. Heels of the hands are grounded. Roll the elbows under so that they bend toward your knees. And feel like you could tear your mat in half. Just until you start to feel a little heat in your arms, soften the pose, but keep the shape. Kickstand the right leg, lower instep, left instep touches down. Side plank variation. Stack the arms. Left hip rolls open. Extend right through the fingertips. Extend the energy in all directions. Push so much into that right shin that you could almost slide a piece of paper underneath your hand. So you want your mid-body and your lower body to stabilize so your arms and your wrists aren't taking all the weight. If it feels good, lift that leg. Left leg lifts parallel. Roll open even more, just a little bit. Send that left arm overhead. Extend. Right across the room. Close your eyes. Touch the opposite walls. Stay or bend that top leg. Catch the foot. Press the foot into the hand. Leg does all the work. Slowly make your way back down. Touch down. Flow through cat and cow to reset the spine. Hopefully it's feeling good now, or at least better than when you started. Sink hips to heels. Child's pose. Knees together if you need a lower back stretch. Knees apart if you need an upper back stretch. One more breath. Next inhale, roll back into neutral. Have your blocks ready. And if you don't have blocks, that's okay. But if you do, I think most people have blocks at home that they're able to utilize. So standing onto your knees, you're just sending your right leg forward. So you're coming into a lunge. You can have your blocks at the highest height to start, and then as you breathe and kind of settle into that hip flexor, you might be able to go a little bit deeper. And you can always pad underneath your knee if you need that too. So send your foot a little bit forward. So it's like almost forward of your knee, so that when you start to bend a little bit deeper into that hip flexor, your knee doesn't go too far past your toes. I like to stay really grounded, so that if I need to get out of it, I can just push into the foot to lift the hips. So you settle into the shape, kind of get a sense of where you want to stay, where you can hold. Move the arms where it feels good, maybe to keep the chest lifted a little bit more. And then push really strong into that front foot, almost like you're pushing through the floor, or like you could make a dent in the floor. Push into the heel, and then open the heart forward. Shoulders draw back. Nice stretch right in that hip flexor. If you want a little bit deeper into the hip flexor stretch, you can move the hands closer to the hips, keep pushing into that front foot, and open the chest even more toward the ceiling. Slowly come back. Hands grounded underneath your shoulders. Push strong into that front foot. Send your hips back. Take the toes with you. So the toes point toward the ceiling. You're pressing through the heel, leveling the hips. And then it's almost like you're trying to slide the hip back, but the heel stays grounded. So you're pulling the top of your leg toward the back of the room as you're sending the energy out through the front of the heel. Just get that sensation that the leg is moving in two directions, because really it is. It's like a pulley system. So you're pulling from the toes all the way up toward the hip, and then pressing out from the hip all the way down through the heel. And that'll help lengthen the hamstrings in the best ways, rather than just a passive stretch. Keep the leg where it is and just touch the foot down. Similar stretch, but this time you're actually stretching the top of the foot and the ankle. Keep the action in the leg, so you're pulling that hip back toward the back of the room, but this time you're just pressing through the toes. Same but different. Should feel really good on the top of the foot. Might be really intense on the top of the foot if it's not a shape that you're used to. Slowly make your way forward. Come back into that lunge. And then this time, you're walking your foot toward the left side of your mat. And we're coming down into a pigeon. Have a blanket or like a couch cushion or something nearby so you can stack. So what you're doing is you're coming down onto that right hip and just send the legs both to 90 degrees. And then if that's really intense on your hips, like if you're running or you're just not used to stretching your hips, you can take your blocks just in front of your shin, and then you just aim your chest toward that shin. And you might be able to just stay here for a little while. It might be intense enough to get some release, but not too intense that it's making your eyes water and your breath catch. So you can stay here, or if that's not enough for you, keep that hip propped, and you might even need to prop it even more. Take the heel in, so you're closing that angle on the front leg, and then you're extending the angle on the back leg as you send that left hip forward. Your two hip points are square to the front of the room, and if, when you turn, your hip is way lifted, prop even more. As you get into this, adjust the heel. The further out from your body, the more intense it's going to be. The closer in, the less intense. You want the outer edge of that front leg to be in line with your mat. So you don't want the knee too far in, so your knee is in line with your hip. And then you lift through the chest, so you can use your blocks here to raise the floor if you need. Send your heart forward and anchor into that back knee. So you're really pressing into the floor with the right shin and the left knee, sending that left hip forward, and then you can start to make your way down. So you might come to forearms. You can keep your forearms at blocks just to raise the floor a little bit. And if you're doing that, press into the floor, almost like you're doing a Sphinx pose. Press into the elbows and the forearms with the floor or the blocks, and then pull the elbows back toward your hips and feel how that sends your heart forward. And then just test it out. Maybe you can go a little bit deeper. If you're not getting the intensity, maybe you can send the heel out further. Maybe that's too much. You just get that sweet spot where you're like, I want to go, I want to leave this. And it's not quite making your breath catch and your eyes water so much. It's just on that edge, and that's where you want it. You can add a little bonus twist. Take the right hand right underneath your shoulder, and then you open your chest to the side. I love that one. So you can pause and stay here, or you can come out sort of the same way you came in. You're making your way back into table. You can extend that leg, release the hip. Make any movements in any way. Just release that hip. And then just have your props ready for the second side. So you're coming to stand on your knees again. Coming into that lunge, send the left leg forward. Have your blocks. So second side, less talking, more doing. Just walk the toes forward a little bit so that when you come into the deep hip flexor stretch, if you go too deep, you can come out of it. So just make sure the knee doesn't go past the toes for that reason. And then press down into the blocks. Send the heart forward. Push into that left foot. Push so much it feels like you're making a dent in the floor. And that helps stabilize your hips. If you just come into a passive stretch and collapse into the joints, that left hip, especially if you're tight, that left hip is going to creep forward, and your hip points are going to be pointing a little bit toward the right. So by pressing into that left foot, you're actively pulling that left hip back. If you want to play with it, keep the legs really active and strong. Take the hands a little further in. Lift through the chest. Maybe take an upper body stretch. Keep pressing into that front foot. Maybe take the chin, the eye gaze toward the ceiling. Open your heart even more. Keep pressing into that front foot. When you're ready, start to make your way forward. Press to lift the hips. Take the toes back. Active hamstring stretch. So you're pulling your toes up toward your hips and sending the energy out through the heel. Keep the action in the leg. And just send the toes down toward the floor. Stretch the top of the foot and the ankle. So good. This one's so subtle. And it's like, where have you been all my life? When you're ready, bend your knee, come forward again. You can move your blocks forward. Toe heel that left foot to the right side. Take your blanket or your pillow underneath your hip and sit down. Turn to the right. Both legs at 90 degrees. Take your blocks right in front of your shin. And then bring your forearms toward the right side in the direction of your shin. Lift through the chest by pressing into the blocks. Stay here for a couple breaths, even if you know that you can go deeper. You might actually enjoy this, as subtle as it may be. And if this is intense for you, just find that edge, find that space where you know it's doing something. If you do need to up the intensity a little bit, if your edge is a little bit deeper, Take your blocks toward the front. Hug that left heel in a little bit closer to your body. That right hip turns and you're extending the back leg. So the knee points down to the earth, squaring the hip points to the front of your mat. Lifting through the chest. Just notice if you need the heel a little closer to your body or a little further out. And notice the difference between left and right side. There always is one. Press down into the blocks. Roll the shoulders back, open the chest. Keep that extension through your spine, and then if you want, you can come down to forearms. Forearms can touch the blocks or the floor. Active through the arms here, so press into the forearms and the elbows and pull the elbows back toward your hips. Feel what happens in this stretch when you do that. It's amazing. Just subtle changes, subtle movements can just shift the entire intensity and intention of every posture, every movement, every stretch. If you need a little bit more, forearms can meet the earth. Keep the spine really long. Keep that right hip rolling forward. Playing with the twist if you want, left hand underneath your shoulder, just to the outside of the knee, kind of to the corner. Press down. Keep pulling the spine forward as you press down into the hand to get the twist. And then pull that front elbow in. So the right elbow draws toward your hip. So again, you can pause and stay here as long as you need. When you're ready, swing that back leg forward. Just come up, sit tall, move your props. Hands underneath your shoulders. Thumbs point to the outside just to roll the shoulders open and just windshield wiper the legs. Just slow to start. Drop the knees down toward the earth. Keep the chest forward. So it's just the lower body moving. If you want to go a little bit bigger, you can release that back arm and reach forward. Rolling to the other side, back arm releases. Just a few times on each side. Massage the hips, stretch the side body. And then if you want a little bit bigger, you can lift and press the hips. This one feels so good. You might pause for a few rounds of breath. Roll to the other side, release, and then stretch, lift the hips, pressing up toward your shins, up to the shins. Rolling down. One more time each side. Back through center. Last time. Just enjoy it. Come all the way back to center. Windshield wiper the legs. And then slowly onto your back again. Clasp your arms overhead. Take your soles of your feet together, knees open out, bound angle. Full breaths into your belly. So from here, you're welcome to stay in this position for as long as you need, or extend the legs, find some soft music, and settle into a final relaxation for 5 to 10 minutes, maybe more if you need it, if you feel like you could go deep after this practice. Go for it. The floor is yours. Make it your own. So I hope that loosens some things up and your spine feels a little more limber than when you started. You feel a little more grounded and relaxed.